Welcome to TuneLeak TV. I'm your host, Ben Craven. You heard the spiel, a cinematic, progressive rock artist from Brisbane, Australia, keeping the spirit of the 70s alive with a healthy dose of 21st century film soundtrack music. That's not why we're here, but if you want to check out some free music of mine, somewhere here will be a link to a video with a link to a free download from Bandcamp. Check it out. I'm here today to talk about Last Chance to Hear. Put simply, I'm reworking it and remixing it, my album from a few years ago. The punters will remember that as the album with William Shatner on it. The way the album was recorded was a bit of an experiment with this TuneLeak idea, right? So as soon as I'd finished a track and it was good enough for anyone to hear, then out it went, available for download. Anyone could grab it. So when it came to put the final album together, sequencing the pieces and renaming them and that sort of thing became problematic because they'd already been put out under a certain name. So I'm not sure the sequencing of the album was as perfect as it could have been. For a while, I've wanted to join the pieces together, right? So Last Chance to Hear Part 1 and Part 2. Let's get them together. Spy in the Sky Parts 1, 2 and 3. Get them together for an epic length. And let's get more of a traditional prog rock album kind of structure. So part of doing this is the title track, Last Chance to Hear. I want to put Part 1 and Part 2 together, but they are in different keys. And that was by design to fit in with the album flow. Part 1 is in D, well, starts off in D at least, and Part 2 returns, but it's moved up to E. Now, when I played this live at the album launch, I did link parts 1 and 2 together, and I cut out a section. So I raised the key of part 1 into E, and that's what I want to do here as well. A lot of the other instrumentation just can be transposed because they're VSTs. But, of course, I have to re-record the vocals. Record in D. I don't want to pitch shift them and sound like a chipmunk or sound even more offensive than I already do. So re-recording the vocals, that's what I want to show you today. But I will mention there is a third verse. So there were two verses in the original version. To link these two together, a third verse is a really good idea. And hopefully when you hear the eventual track, you'll recognize why. There is a third verse I've recorded with relatively new lyrics. I think they're only a couple of years old, those lyrics. Patrons have already seen them. I think they capture better the original image I had in my head. So Last Chance to Hear, it's the oral equivalent of the Douglas Adams book Last Chance to See, which was about species of animals going extinct and, this is your last chance to see them. And I always had this image of a bunch of animals around a watering hole and the drought's kicking in, the water hole's getting smaller and smaller. The animals are fighting amongst themselves. Some of them are burying themselves in the mud and dying, So it's a pretty grim idea, but it was the concept of that drying up watering hole and all the animals basically dying. And that was going to be the image I had in my head for what this album was about, musically and orally. So verse 3 is about that. It's a nice kind of epilogue, nice kind of coda to the song. So if you're not familiar with the original track, then get familiar with it. Go to Bandcamp, listen to it. It's there. You hear it for free. Geez, what are you wasting your time here for? The original track was built on 3 different vocal styles. If you listen to those old Henry Mancini songs from the day, like the Day of Wine and Roses, and any of those songs where they had his vocal section, it was that kind of cheesy sort of thing that I was aiming for with these vocals. Because let's be honest, it is a Mancini-esque piece of music. So I'll just play you. I've re-recorded verse 1, sort of mixed it, sort of haven't. Let's just play what we've got. Now in the key of E.
Believe the hype, where the saviors you've been craving We're not the first, but the great unwashed are raving. We must be right, with all the box office we're taking. So stick around as we unleash the sound of fury, signifying it's your last chance to hear.
So that's the track, basically. And this is made up of, as I say, three kind of styles. One is just trying to sing it as a normal person. You know, no effects, just...
We're the saviors you've been craving.
Just, you know, good, honest kind of singing. Then there is the whisper. I also probably call it the Donald Fagen, which is this sort of thing.
We're the saviors you've been craving.
It's kind of a snarl whisper, a different type of voice. And for good measure, there's the falsetto. Well, it's not even falsetto, but it is the octave higher, which is somewhat embarrassing on its own, but... You know, this is what it is, for better or for worse.
But the great unwashed raving.
It's,
We're not the first. Must be right.
So you would never listen to that on its own. But then mixing those tracks together, so then every one of those are double tracked as well. So there's two of the normal vocals.
But the great unwashed raving.
Two of the Donald Fagen style whispers.
But the great unwashed raving.
And then, of course, two of the octave above.
But the great unwashed raving.
Put them together then, and we are...
But the great unwashed raving.
That's what we get.
We must be right. So stick around as we unleash the sound of fury, signifying it's your last chance to hear.
Now, when I recorded these vocals, I do about 4 takes. I do about 4 takes of each line, unless I'm getting tired, in which I'll do 3 takes. The reason for that is I want one kind of good take that can sit on its own if it has to. So that's really this top one here. I want a take that can double track that. You'll see that this other second take for this normal singing
We're the saviors
is 3 dB lower than the main track. So you've got this main track, and then you've got the double one, which is, you know, softer.
We're the saviors you've been craving.
So that does a bit of thickening up of the voice, especially if it's wanting it. So there's 4 of those. There's about 4 of these, you know, there was these whisper tracks. And I think by the end of the day, I'm getting quite tired, so I only did 2 or 3 of these high ones, and you can see they were fine. There's less definition required for the less enunciation required up top. So I want to show you this mess. These are the mess of tracks. So the other reason to do 3 or 4 takes is when you're double tracking, all the syllables have to be aligned, otherwise it doesn't sound so good. You can see here, for instance, this phrase. I had 3 lines to choose from. I chose these 2 here because they lined up with each other, whereas this one was a bit out. It would be fine if it was on its own, but if you're double tracking, you want the consonants to line up, you want the phrase to line up. Otherwise, this is the sort of thing that you'll get.
We're the saviors you've been craving.
So if we just try that with this, probably it won't work so well.
We're the saviors you've been craving.
All right, so what happened here was the end. It was a bit longer on this take than this one. So I picked these 2 because they're about the same length and they lined up. For anyone playing at home, yes, that's a play on words.
We're the saviors you've been craving.
We're the saviors, you've been Craven, of course. So the next challenge now, apart from extracting the pieces that work together, is inserting the 3rd verse, which will fit. Where does it fit? So here's where it's going to go. So we go verse 1.
We're the saviors you've been craving.
So moving to verse 2.
got the cred.
We've only got the lead vocal there.
From the grassroots we've been faking.
So there's our verse
So
2.
stick around as we unleash the sound of fury, signifying it's your last chance to hear.
Into the big solo, or the big riff, which is an 11/4 for anyone playing at home who didn't notice. It's an 11, people, 11. Doing our solo. And this is where the verse 3 will come in. Kind of
We got the cred.
so 3 brings it back to this section.
From the grassroots we've been faking.
And after that, we go to our normal part 2, which is the slow, sad solo, and then to this big manic ending. So that's last chance to hear. That's the work so far on the rework, the remix. Talk to you again soon. Thank you so much to my patrons who get to see these videos first and have my respect and love for all of eternity. Talk to you again soon on this TuneLeak TV. The next time I got something interesting to show you.